In a shocking turn of events that has sent the entire Japanese baseball world into a state of panic, 4 key Samurai Japan players have been permanently banned from the World Baseball Classic and handed a devastating 1-year suspension by the Nippon Professional Baseball Organization. The decision came after an explosive emergency meeting that quickly spiraled out of control. Former manager Ibata attempted to intervene and disrupt the proceedings, but his explanation was immediately and firmly rejected by NPB officials. And just when it seemed like the situation could not get any more dramatic, Shohei Ohtani himself picked up the phone and personally demanded that the NPB reverse its decision. The Japanese baseball world has never seen anything like this before, and the shockwaves from this emergency meeting are still being felt across the entire baseball community. This is one of the biggest controversies in the history of Samurai Japan, and today we are going to break down everything that happened inside that emergency meeting, why 4 players are now facing the harshest punishment in recent NPB history, why Ibata's defense completely collapsed under pressure, and why Ohtani felt he had no choice but to personally get involved in this extraordinary situation. To understand why this emergency meeting was called in the first place, we need to go back to the events that led up to this extraordinary situation. Over the past several weeks, the NPB had been quietly monitoring a series of incidents involving several Samurai Japan players. According to sources close to the organization, there had been growing concerns about conduct, attitude, and certain undisclosed violations that were considered serious enough to warrant immediate action at the highest level. When the NPB finally decided that the situation had reached a critical point, they wasted no time. An emergency meeting was called with little advance notice, gathering the most senior officials within the organization. The meeting was described by those present as extremely tense from the very beginning. There was no small talk, no warm greetings. Officials walked in with serious expressions, and it was immediately clear to everyone in the room that something significant was about to happen. The meeting began with NPB officials presenting a detailed report on the violations in question. The report was thorough, well-documented, and left very little room for debate. According to insiders who were present, the evidence against the 4 players was considered overwhelming. Officials reviewed each case individually, going through the specifics of each violation with careful attention to detail. The mood inside the room grew heavier with each passing minute as it became increasingly clear that the NPB was not going to take a lenient approach to this situation. After reviewing all of the evidence, the officials reached a unanimous decision. For Samurai Japan players would be permanently banned from participating in any future World Baseball Classic, and each player would receive a 1-year suspension from all NPB activities. It was an unprecedented and devastating punishment, and the news hit the Japanese baseball world like a thunderbolt the moment it began to leak out of the meeting room. While the NPB has not yet officially released the full names of all 4 players involved, sources within the organization have confirmed that the suspended players include both veteran figures and younger members of the Samurai Japan roster. This makes the situation even more alarming for Japanese baseball fans, because it suggests that the problems within the team go beyond just 1 or 2 individuals. The violations in question are reported to involve a combination of disciplinary issues, failure to comply with official team regulations, and conduct that the NPB deemed incompatible with the values and standards expected of players representing Japan on the international stage. The NPB made it very clear during the meeting that wearing the Samurai Japan uniform is a privilege, not a right, and that any player who fails to uphold the honor associated with that uniform will face serious consequences. For many fans and observers, the harshness of the punishment came as a genuine surprise. A permanent WBC ban combined with a 1-year suspension is an extraordinarily severe penalty, and it immediately raised questions about just how serious the violations must have been to warrant such a drastic response. Those who were present at the meeting say that NPB officials were absolutely firm in their position from the very beginning and showed no willingness to negotiate or reduce the punishment in any way. The 4 players themselves were reportedly stunned by the severity of the decision. Sources say that when word reached them about the outcome of the meeting, there was a sense of disbelief. None of them had anticipated that the NPB would take such an extreme and uncompromising stance, and the reality of what had just happened took some time to fully sink in. Just when it appeared that the NPB's decision was final and the meeting was moving toward its conclusion, former Samurai Japan manager Ibata made a dramatic and unexpected entrance. Those present at the meeting described the moment as genuinely shocking. Ibata entered the room with visible determination, making it immediately clear that he was not there to quietly observe. He was there to fight for the players. Ibata immediately took the floor and launched into a passionate defense of the 4 suspended players. He argued that the punishment was far too severe and that the NPB had not fully considered the context and circumstances surrounding the violations. He spoke at length about the character of the players involved, their contributions to Samurai Japan over the years, and their deep commitment to representing their country with pride and dedication. Ibata also questioned the process by which the decision had been reached, suggesting that the players had not been given a fair and adequate opportunity to present their side of the story. He pushed back strongly against the idea that a permanent WBC ban was a proportionate response, arguing that such a severe punishment would effectively end the international careers of players who still had much to contribute to Japanese baseball. However, NPB officials were not moved by Ibata's arguments. Almost immediately after he finished speaking, the officials responded by firmly and flatly rejecting every point he had raised. They stated that the process had been thorough, fair, and conducted strictly in accordance with NPB regulations. They also emphasized that the decision had been reached unanimously after careful and detailed deliberation, and that there was no basis for reconsidering the outcome. The rejection of Ibata's explanation was swift and decisive, and it left the former manager visibly frustrated. Those in the room described the exchange as deeply uncomfortable. Ibata had come in with confidence and passion, but the NPB officials responded with cold, unyielding authority. His disruption of the meeting, rather than helping the 4 players, appeared to only reinforce the NPB's determination to stand firm on their decision. What happened next is the part of this story that has truly captured the imagination of the entire baseball world. Word of the NPB's decision and the failure of Ibata's intervention reached Shohei Ohtani in the United States. And Ohtani, who is currently in the middle of his season preparation with the Los Angeles Dodgers, did not hesitate for a single moment. Ohtani picked up the phone and called the NPB directly. According to sources familiar with the conversation, Ohtani was calm but absolutely firm. He made it clear from the beginning of the call that he believed the punishment handed down to the 4 players was unjust and disproportionate. He expressed his deep concern about what the decision would mean not just for the players involved, but for the future of Samurai Japan as a whole. Ohtani reportedly told NPB officials that permanently banning any player from the WBC sends the wrong message to the entire Japanese baseball community, particularly to younger players who dream of one day representing their country on the international stage. He argued that the NPB should consider a more measured and constructive approach that holds players accountable while still giving them a genuine path forward. Most significantly, Ohtani formally demanded that the NPB reconsider and reverse its decision. This was not a gentle suggestion or a polite request. It was a firm and direct demand from the most famous and respected Japanese baseball player in the world. Those who are familiar with the conversation say that Ohtani's tone made it absolutely clear that he was serious and that he expected the NPB to take his intervention seriously. The fact that Ohtani chose to get involved personally speaks volumes about how seriously he views this situation. Ohtani is not someone who involves himself in controversy lightly. He is known throughout the baseball world for his professionalism, his focus, and his deep respect for the game. For him to step in and directly challenge an NPB decision in such a public and forceful way is genuinely extraordinary, and it has sent a powerful signal to everyone involved that this situation is far from over. The NPB has not yet issued an official public response to Ohtanis' intervention. However, sources within the organization suggest that his call has created significant internal debate among officials. While some remain firmly committed to upholding the original decision, others are reportedly open to the idea of at least reviewing the punishment in light of Ohtani's concerns. For Samurai Japan, the timing of this controversy could not be worse. With the 2026 World Baseball Classic already underway and the team preparing for the toughest phase of the competition, the last thing they need is a major internal crisis of this magnitude. Losing 4 players to suspension is a serious blow to the squad's depth and competitive strength. But perhaps more damaging than the loss of the players themselves is the disruption to team unity and morale that this situation has caused. Manager Ibata is now faced with the enormous challenge of keeping the remaining players focused and motivated, while the NPB controversy continues to unfold in the background. He has reportedly urged the players to remain professional and to concentrate on what they can control, which is their performance on the field. However, with questions swirling around the suspended players and Ohtani's dramatic intervention dominating the news cycle, maintaining that focus will be extremely difficult. The Japanese baseball community is now waiting anxiously to see how the NPB responds to Ohtani's demand. Will they stand firm on their decision and risk a very public confrontation with the sport's biggest star? Or will they reconsider the punishment and find a way to resolve this crisis that satisfies all parties involved? These are questions that have no easy answers, and the coming days will be absolutely critical in determining the future direction of this extraordinary situation. What began as an internal disciplinary matter has rapidly escalated into one of the most dramatic and high-profile controversies in the recent history of Japanese baseball. For Samurai Japan, players now face punishments that could permanently alter the course of their careers. Ibata's courageous but ultimately unsuccessful attempt to defend them has only added another layer of drama to an already extraordinary story. And Ohtani's direct and forceful intervention has ensured that this situation will remain at the very center of the baseball world's attention until a final resolution is reached. Samurai Japan continues to fight on the field, but the battle being fought off the field right now may prove to be just as important as anything that happens in the WBC itself. The NPB must now decide whether it will hold firm in the face of pressure from the most powerful voice in Japanese baseball, or whether it will find a way to step back from a decision that has divided the entire baseball community. This story is still developing, and we will continue to bring you all the latest updates as they emerge. Thank you for watching. Please share your thoughts and reactions in the comments section below. We want to know what you think about this extraordinary situation. If you want to stay up to date on all the latest Samurai Japan and WBC news, please make sure to subscribe to our channel so you never miss a single update.